Father Bob Carr here from St. Benedict's Parish in Somerville. And I'm here with Douglas Soares.
Yeah.
Hey, Douglas, well, welcome.
I'm from Everett, St. Anthony's Church, and it's a pleasure to be here, Father.
Well, it's great to have you here. And Douglas, along with myself, we are part of a community that worships within the context of Council Nova spirituality on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everyone?
Yeah, every Thursday we have Mass at 8 o'clock, and after the Mass, then we proceed with the adoration.
Great. And that goes till about 9:30.
Until 9:30.
From 8 to 9:30 between Mass and adoration goes 8 to 9:30. Mm-hmm. Well, excellent. Well, one of the things we wanted to talk about here is the issue of atheism. Now, we were talking about that earlier. You did not see that debate on ABC.
I didn't get to see it, Father, but I've heard about it.
And that was that whole concept of trying to prove scientifically that God exists. And we had discussed that fact, and you realized. What was your impression of what you heard about the interview, or the debate?
My expression.
Impression.
Impression was that you cannot prove scientifically that God does not exist, because you have to use the Bible too.
Well, true, but if I want to use the Bible and I want to become, from a scientific perspective, people will say, well, that doesn't count. And that was actually one of the issues in the debate, that doesn't count. They're saying, I want scientific method, if A, then B, all the way down the line, proving that God exists, or that doesn't exist. Can't be done. And a lot of people don't understand that. So if someone comes to you and he says, I do not believe, God does not exist. Well, fine. That's an opinion. It's not a truth. And here's the reason why. One of the things that people don't understand about what we know in relation to the existence of God is scientifically, scientists will tell you you cannot prove it one way or the other. But there's a new science coming out through evolution, and that's teaching us something that's even more spectacular, and it really brings us to the faith. But let's stay on the science level. You've heard of Noam Chomsky.
Yes, the scientist, right?
Right, scientist over at MIT, and he's retired now. And Noam Chomsky has an interesting point. It's part of this whole system. You see, what we've come to realize is that our perception is limited, that there's just certain things we cannot perceive. There are certain things that are beyond our perception. But now if we bring in what Noam Chomsky says, he makes an interesting point. Say, for example, we have some kind of an animal. Let's give me the name of an animal.
Yeah, a rat.
Okay, we'll take a rat. All right. So say, for example, you have a rat. A rat's ability to understand the world around him is limited. Maybe a rat cannot fully appreciate a dog. Maybe a rat cannot fully appreciate a bird. So his reality, or her reality, I suppose, is limited by what the rat can understand. For example, I'm not sure which one of the members of the animal species is one of the ape species. I think it's a macaw. No, not a macaw. I can't think of the name of the ape species. Has no ability to have any kind of self-awareness. So if you put a mirror in front of this ape, it cannot understand that mirror is himself, and it's thinking that's another ape. Birds do that as well. So the perception is limited. What Noam Chomsky says is that also applies on a human level, that our perception, although bigger than that of a rat, bigger than that of an ape, bigger than that of a bird, it's still limited. And what he also says, which is really powerful, is that which we cannot perceive is beyond our ability to know, period. In other words, we cannot know what's there. It's not like someday we'll discover. No, we cannot know what's there. That's a scientific principle that's out there. That's taught scientifically. That's not religion, that's science. Now, there's another man by the name of Isaac Asimov.
The science fiction writer?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Isaac Asimov himself admitted throughout his whole life that he was an atheist. But he finally had also admitted that saying that you are an atheist is at best an assumption. And he made it clear. He says, I'm too lazy to go pursue it beyond the level of assumption. So he said, yeah, it's an assumption.
That's just, I mean, his opinion. I mean, it's what he thinks.
That's right.
But it's not the truth.
That's right. You see, because as we get back to what Noam Chomsky says, and so many others, Colin McGinn is another one, say because all of that we there's a limit to what we can know, and so when we turn around and say, well, I can prove to you that God does not exist, it doesn't make any sense, because you have to say first that you are omniscient enough to prove that you can perceive all of reality, but science says you can't. And you know what's even more interesting, these guys who say that, many of them are atheists. But they will tell you they assume God does not exist. They will never tell you they can prove God does not exist. They just assume it. And that's the reality.
And what's interesting, Father, if he says that we're like limited, I think he's already proven that he can't prove that God does not exist.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. So when someone says to me, I need you to prove that God exists or doesn't exist, can't be done. And so for those people to get caught up in that debate on ABC, that was a stupid move, because they were kind of like in what we would call a carnival game of debate. It was one of those things they couldn't win because they asked the wrong question.
That's true.
You know, the question that really can be asked is not prove to me that God exists or even doesn't exist. The question that we can ask as Christians to even atheists to say is to prove to me that you can perceive all of reality. You know, and that's an important point. Prove to me. And if you can't prove to me that you can't, if you can't prove to me that you can perceive all of reality, then why don't we just admit that you can't prove to me that God does not exist? And at best, it's an assumption. Looks like our time's up.
Yep.
Well, hey, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I guess we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks.
Have a good night.